Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're going to talk about four teenagers who robbed a theater and then fled to Hawaii. But this isn't just some true crime story. Nope. It's really a deep dive into a psychological trap that can make any of us, you, me, our families, our coworkers, agree to a plan that secretly none of us actually want. All right, let's just start with a question for you. Have you ever, and be honest, gone along with something, maybe a vacation, a movie, a project at work, that you really didn't want to do but you did it because you thought everyone else was excited about it? Yeah? Well, hang on to that feeling because it is the absolute key to this entire story. You see, to really get how four kids end up as fugitives, you have to understand that each one of them was already trapped in their own way. They weren't just running to something great. They were desperately trying to run from their own personal nightmares. Okay, first up, we've got Alanja. She's a super talented artist, comes from money, but her whole identity, her whole world, is wrapped up in her art studio. It's her safe space, her fortress of solitude, so when her parents take it away as a punishment, they basically erase who she is, leaving her totally desperate to find a new place to exist. Then you have Sarah. She's whip-smart, a top student, but her parents died, and now she's stuck living with her aunt. And the real trap here is her uncle, Lester. He's this creepy presence, always watching her, making her feel like a prisoner in her own home. And next, there's Dylan. His family is just scraping by, and he is absolutely consumed by the shame of not having money. His single biggest fear in life is turning into what he calls a middle-class working stiff like his dad. For him, escape has nothing to do with safety. It's all about getting rich and getting rich now. And rounding out the group is Jace. He's the planner, the guy who's supposed to be the moral compass, but his trap, it's his own sense of guilt and responsibility. He has this crushing, overwhelming need to save everybody, especially Sarah. And that noble idea, well, it's going to lead him down a really dark path. And boom, here it is. This one exchange says it all. After Jace and Dylan pull off an armed robbery, Sarah confronts him, and you can just see the twisted logic in his head. He didn't just commit a serious crime, no. In his mind, he did it for her. He robbed a theater to buy her freedom. So, with a bag full of stolen cash, they make a run for it. But their so-called paradise? It's built on a shaky foundation of lies, paranoia, and one really, really clever mind game. And this is how it starts to unravel. Jace gets nabbed by the cops. A detective uses what Jace's own dad calls the oldest cop trick in the book. He just scribbles a fake confession from Dylan, leaves it on the table, and walks out. And of course, Jace peeks, thinks his best friend has totally betrayed him, and just spills his guts to set the record straight. He got played perfectly. Now, thinking the whole game is up, the four of them decide to bolt. They get some sketchy fake IDs, pool all the money they have left, and hop on a plane to Maui. They end up checking into this cheesy hotel room with a jungle theme. And in their panic state of mind, it feels like destiny, a sign. They've made it. And that little illusion of paradise, it's about to feel a whole lot more real. Jace randomly meets this millionaire, Mark, who offers him and Sarah the literal dream job, house-sitting a massive mansion. He'll give them a free Jeep to drive and pay them $2,000 a month just to live there. It's an unbelievable fantasy come true. But you knew there had to be a catch, right? To get this dream gig, Mark just needs to run a quick, routine background check. And for a couple of fugitives wanted for armed robbery, well, that's not just a small problem. That is a ticking time bomb set to blow their entire paradise to pieces. And right here, this is the moment their whole escape becomes a textbook example of this really fascinating psychological trap called the Abilene paradox. Because that job offer forces them to finally ask, why are we really here? So what in the world is the Abilene paradox? Well, it sounds complicated, but it's not. It's basically when a group of people all agree to a plan, like taking a long, hot, dusty road trip to a town called Abilene that literally no one in the car actually wants. They all just go along with it because they don't want to rock the boat, and they assume everyone else is on board. It's a failure to communicate, leading everyone to a destination nobody desires. And this table just lays out the problem perfectly. On the surface, their goal was the same: escape to paradise. Simple enough, right? But underneath, their real individual goals were headed in completely different directions. Jace wanted redemption. Dylan just wanted money. Sarah wanted to go to college. Alanja wanted to be a famous artist.
They were all in the same car for sure, but they all had wildly different destinations in mind.
That background check, that's the fork in the road. It completely shatters the illusion of paradise and forces a choice that cracks the foundation of their whole plan.
And then Sarah comes up with this surprisingly mature, actually brilliant plan. She says, let's do it. Let's take the job. I'll stay here in Maui, hold down our paradise, and you, Jace, you fly back to Utah, face the music, clear your name, and then you can come back. And that one suggestion just splits the group's leaders right down the middle. Jace, going by Jake Young, he chooses the path of redemption. He realizes he can't live his life as a fake. But Dylan, now calling himself Red Cox, he doubles down on the escape. He's willing to be a fugitive forever if it means not going back.
Now, when Jace gets back to Salt Lake, something happens that just hits him like a ton of bricks. He meets a homeless man on the street who tells him his name is Red. And in that one instant, Jace sees it. He sees a ghost of the future. He realizes the path of Red Cox doesn't end in a mansion in Maui. It ends right here on a cold street corner.
So Jace's return home is the turning point. It's the moment he consciously decides, I'm done. He's breaking the paradox, leaving the group fantasy behind, and choosing his own, much harder path back to the real world. This whole choice is actually summed up perfectly in a recurring dream he has. He's on his bike, about to fly right off a cliff. But at the very last second, a lifesaver fork appears in the trail. It's a steep, difficult uphill climb, but it's the only way to avoid a fatal crash. And finally, he gets it. He understands. The easy path, the downhill coast, staying in Maui, being Jake Young, that's actually the dead end. The only path that leads anywhere real, anywhere meaningful, is the brutal, painful uphill climb of facing what he did. So, what are we supposed to take away from all this? Well, first, the Abilene paradox shows us that sometimes the fear of conflict is way more dangerous than the conflict itself. Just speak up. Second, having a big shared goal, like escape, is pretty useless if everyone's idea of what they're escaping to is totally different. And finally, and this is the big one, maybe real freedom isn't found by running away from your problems, but by turning around and running straight toward them. Which leaves us with a final thought to chew on. We always think the opposite of paradise has to be hell, but what if it's not? What if it's just reality? And when you're faced with that choice, a beautiful lie versus a difficult truth, which path do you take?